Hello, hello. Welcome to another English conversation slash reading slash speaking slash vocab lesson. All right, well, let's jump right into it. As always, we're going to use our Ingu website and let's have a look. What do we have today? So I'm going to go with the first big one again there. TV show breaks jump scare record. Let's have a look, seeing as it's Happy Halloween. If you celebrate Halloween, I'm dressed up as me. No, I'm not dressed up as anything. All right, well, let's have a look. As always, we're going to start with the vocabulary. And as I always say, hit pause after I read it, try and say the words, get the pronunciation down. If you're not sure about the definition of the word, look it up. If the explanation's not enough, type it in Google. You'll find more explanations to it, more example sentences. And sometimes you'll see that a certain word could be used in different ways in different contexts. So, the example that they usually give us here is in the context of what you would find in the passage. But if you type it in Google, say, for example, the first word there, startle, if you type in startle meaning, they'll give you all the different contexts that you could use the word in. All right. So let's start then. First one, startle, and to frighten or shock a person or animal. Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. I thought I was home alone. Next one, hospice, a special type of hospital that cares for people who are terminally ill. My grandfather spent his last days at the local hospice. Then the next one, scream, to make a very loud sound. Ah. My sister always screams whenever she sees a bug. Next one, appear, to be mentioned or shown somewhere. Jennifer Lawrence appears in all of the Hunger Games movies. Next one, lazy, not wanting to work or be physically active. My son is lazy, but my daughter is very hardworking. My daughter is very hardworking. All right, well, right on to the article then. TV show breaks jump scare record. Again, as I always say, I'm going to read, and then after each little paragraph, hit pause, try and read it, and then continue on. So that you can wait till you can go through till the end and then read it afterwards. But if you get stuck with the pronunciation, you're going to have to skip back a lot. So it might be easier. Just take it little piece by piece. All right. So Netflix show The Midnight Club. Netflix show The Midnight Club has broken the world record for the most jump scares in a single episode. Released on October 7, 2022, the Netflix horror show broke the Guinness World Record in its very first episode. A jump scare is a moment in a horror movie or show when the audience is startled by something that happens very suddenly. Often there will also be a sudden loud noise to increase the effect. The first episode of The Midnight Club includes a total of 21 jump scares. The show tells the story of 8 sick teenagers who live together in a hospice. The teenagers have a club that meets at midnight to tell scary stories. In the first episode, a character called Natsuki, played by Aya Furukawa, tells a story in which a screaming girl suddenly appears. However, another club member complains that a jump scare is a lazy way to try to scare people. That's not scary, it's just startling, he says. Natsuki begins to reply and then suddenly screams, causing another club member to fall out of her chair. After that, Natsuku's story is nothing but jump scares. The Midnight Club was created by Leah Fong and Mike Flanagan. Flanagan is known for his horror shows and movies, including Doctor Sleep, which continued the story of Stephen King's The Shining. Speaking to an official from Guinness World Records, Flanagan said that although he doesn't like using jump scares, he's often asked to include them in his work. Now that he has the world record, he thinks it will be easier to say no. All right, so let's have a quick look at our questions. These are questions related to the text. So let's see how much you can recall from what we just read. So number one, how many jump scares are there in the first episode of The Midnight Club? Do you remember? How many jump scares? All right. Number two, who plays Natsuki in the show? Do you remember the name? And number three, does Mike Flanagan like including jump scares in his work? What did he say? Does he like it? All right, so we're going to go back. Let's see if I can get them right as well. So how many jump scares? I think they said 21. 21 jump scares. Who plays Natsuki in the show? It was a Japanese name. Aya Fukuyuki or something like that. Does Mike Flanagan like including jump scares in his show or in his work? No, he said he doesn't. So let's see. There was 21 jump scares. Aya, played by Aya Furukawa, sorry. That was kind of close. Aya Fukiura or something I said. And Flanagan said although he doesn't like using jump scares, he doesn't like it. All right. Well, let's go right on to the discussion. First question they asked there. Again, I always say this. I'm going to read the question, I'll answer it, and then again, you hit pause afterwards and answer like you would be telling me. So how would you answer this question? How would you, if we had a conversation, what would you say? All right, so number one, what are your thoughts on The Midnight Club breaking the jump scare record? It made me want to actually watch it. I well, let me just see the next questions. Okay, I'm not going to go into too much detail because the other questions kind of goes on that. But yeah, it makes me kind of want to watch it. I'm always on the lookout for something that will actually scare me because when I was younger, I I liked watching scary movies, but I got really scared when I watched it. So it was like terrifying, and I would be afterwards, I'd be scared if I'm walking in the house, so I wouldn't be able to sleep, things like that. But as I got older, you realize like, oh, it's all just, it's just a movie, it's just make believe. So when I watch a movie now, it doesn't really scare me anymore, and I'm always trying to find something that will actually scare me. And even so many times in movies, as you watch a lot of movies, you can start to predict where jump scares would come in, they would, and you could predict where they normally would put it in, and then sometimes people who make the movies, they kind of want you to think that it's going to be here, and then they have it in another spot. And I've watched so many movies now that I know where it's supposed to be, and then it's like, is it here? It's going to be now, and then it's not, and then it's like, oh, okay, so it's going to be over here. And so jump scares don't really get me either. But if it can, I'd be thrilled. All right. Number two, have you seen The Midnight Club? If so, what did you think of it? No, I did not, but I'd probably like to watch at least one episode. See if any of the jump scares get me. Number three, do you like horror movies and shows? What are the scariest ones you've seen? So like I said, I like watching, although nowadays I don't really like it because it just kind of seems silly because it's not that scary anymore. But when I was younger, when I was very young, the first one that traumatized me probably was The Fly. Um, yeah, The Fly was very scary for me. And a silly kind of thing, the RoboCop, the first RoboCop movie, um, I still remember till to today where the one guy gets he goes into like a big container of acid, and then he at the another scene he comes walking out and all of his skin is hanging off of him and he's just kind of like dying. and then the guy drives through him with a car and he just kind of explodes. That was horrible. It was so scary for me. Um, so that was when I was very young. Then as I got older, movie The Grudge and The Ring, that was kind of a new style when it just came out. So that was also quite scary for me. And then the most recent thing that was kind of scary, I think it was The Conjuring, the first Conjuring, because that was also maybe something a bit new. I think it was The Conjuring. I don't remember the names though. Um, but the other ones weren't that scary. I think there's a new one. I'll probably watch that also. But yeah, lately the movies aren't that scary anymore. All right. Number four, would you agree that jump scares are a lazy way to try to scare people? Yeah, I do think so. It's because you're not getting the person terrified. It's not like it's so terrifying. It's just like if you walk in the room and somebody jumps at you, it's not like you're terrified of the person. They just startled you. They just gave you a fright. It's not like you are scared. You were just startled. Um, so yeah, but it works. I mean, it can get you to shake and yeah. It's a different kind of scare. It's not like a I'm terrified scare. It's more of a startle. All right, what are your top three favorite movies of all time? Top three favorite movies of all time. Not scary movies. Okay, all movies. This is gonna sound silly, but I would have to go. I'm just going based on movies that I've seen the most amount of times. So it's gonna be a draw for me, number one and two. Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Rocky 4. Those two movies I've seen, I'm not exaggerating, probably more than 100 times. When I was a kid, I loved those movies. I'd watch it back to back. I'd watch the movie, and that back then it was VHS tapes. Watch the movie, rewind it, and then start it again. Just again. It's like Rocky 4, they released a new Rocky 4 editor's cut that Sylvester Stallone made. And I rewatched that, so they put new things in. So, but even with the editor's cut, I know exactly a lot of the lines still to today. If I It's like when they do certain scenes, I can still know exactly what's gonna happen. So those two, and then a third one. Oh, there's so may it'll be a draw. Maybe something like Demolition Man, Cool Runnings. I love Cool Runnings. Um, Happy Gilmore. There's so many good movies. I don't know. I love watching all the movies. All right. Further discussion. What's the last film you saw at the cinema? Was it any good? Ugh. I watch a lot of movies, but I watch it at home. In the cinema, I think it must have been one of the Avengers movies. It was after COVID. One of the Marvel movies. I don't even know if it was an Avenger movie. One of the Marvel movies. It was very good. It's always good watching those movies on the big screen. We went to the IMAX. It's better on the IMAX. Yeah. All right. What's the most boring movie you've recently watched? Ooh, recently. I don't like if I watch because I watch a lot of movies at home, and if it's boring, I'll just switch it off. Um, my friends are gonna. I've got two friends that love Lord of the Rings, and I find it so boring. I've I've never watched any of the Lord of the Rings from beginning to end without falling asleep. Not one single one. I've even went to the cinema. I thought, okay, let's go watch one of them in the cinema. It'll be good on the big screen. I fell asleep in the cinema. So yeah, but that's not recently, but that's very boring for me. What movies have you seen the most times? Like I said before, Rocky 4 and Kickboxer. So many times, so many times. Who's the biggest movie buff you know? Do you ever discuss movies with them? Um, I had a friend, it's still my friend, but we're not in contact that much. He used to have, this was before we had the big screen TVs. We had the box TVs, and he had a projector. He had like a whole movie room set up, and he had a whole library of DVDs. So we would go, it's almost like going to the cinema. You can just, it's almost like having Netflix now, but you actually went to the guy's house and you'd pick whatever DVD. Like both walls on the side, he had like two rows just with DVDs, and he had a sub built into the wall that was, I don't know the size, but like this big sub just built into the wall. So the sound was amazing. It was the best going to him. Um, but yeah, we don't talk that much anymore. Still on my Facebook. Still like him. All right, number five. I love watching horror films because I don't get scared easily. Esha Gupta. Do you know anyone who doesn't get scared easily? It's me. Yeah, I don't get scared easily. I actually talked to somebody the other day about this. I love getting bad dreams. A bad dream is amazing because that's the best scary movie that you can, because you don't know that you're dreaming. So it's like you experiencing this terrible thing, and you can dream about monsters. You can dream about somebody. I dreamt once somebody shot me in the face, and I remember I walked to the mirror and I saw a hole right through my face, and it was terrifying. But then you wake up and it's like, oh, it was just a dream, and then it's like an amazing experience afterwards. So bad dreams, great. Good dreams, not so good. Because I also had a dream where one of my friends, he gave me 10 luxury sports cars like Ferraris, Porsche, Lamborghinis. He gave me 10 cars for I don't know what reason. And I remember I was so happy, I was so excited. And before I got in to drive the first one, I woke up and I was so disappointed. I was so like, oh man, I can't believe it. Um, so bad dreams are actually better than good dreams, unless my father, he passed away 12 years ago. And if I dream about, sometimes I'll dream about him, and that's great because again, it feels like I can actually see him. It's like, oh, and many times I'd get confused. I've had it so many times where I would dream about him, and it would, I would be like, but you're dead. And then I'd be like, but no, he's back alive now. And because in dreams, things don't need to make sense. So that's quite nice. I distinctly remember the one time I saw him and I was so happy to see him again. I gave him a hug and it felt exactly like a hug from my dad. So that's the best ever. So that's probably better than a bad dream. I love those the best. And then bad dreams, then good dreams. Uh, yeah. So that's me. All right. Well, that is everything again for this one. So let me stop sharing this. And that's a wrap for today. So, again, keep working at it, keep practicing, keep trying to speak, say the words out loud, get used to using the language, get used to having a thought and putting it into the English language. That's also a process. And if you don't have somebody that you can speak to, it's a good thing if you can write like a diary. Every day, just write a diary in English, because again, you have a thought and you have to put it in words. And that is also a transaction that you need to do in order to improve your English. And sometimes, if you're actually writing, um, you you write slower than what you would speak. So it gives you that little bit more time to think about the right words and how to structure your sentences. So that's also a good exercise to do. All right. Well, that's it for today. So have a good evening, good day, good morning, whatever, wherever you are, and see you next time. Bye bye.